Hey lovelies, welcome back to my channel. This is Lady So with Nani. Today I bring us a tutorial that shows how to cover your bra cup with fabric, right? So I'll be illustrating with this paper, so I need to fold into 4 places. So I'll first fold in 2. Then for you to know the length of what you're working with, you're going to have about 7 to 8 inches for folding. So it means you spread your pattern to 14 inches width and 14 inches length. All right, so if you're going to fold as you're folding a peplum, you're going to fold into 4. Now this is dependent on the size of bra cup you're working with. All right, so this is a 39 bra cup, so I'll be using around 6 inches. So I'll be marking 6 inches all around, just like you mark for a peplum. All right, so I'm marking 6 inches all around. So if you're working with bra cups of like 42, 44, you can make yours to be as wide as 8 inches, just so that it can be enough to cover up the cup. Okay, so you're going to just connect it like so. Remember, if you want to make it 8 inches, it means your pattern is going to be 16 inches wide and 16 inches long. If you want to make it 6 inches, it's going to be 12 inches wide and 12 inches long, because you're going to be folding into 4. All right, so when you're done, you open it up. Then you can reduce depending on the kind of cup you're working with. Right, so I'm working with a 39 bra cup, so I can just make mine 5 inches. All right, so I initially made 6 inches, so that in case you're working with maybe bra cup 40, that should be enough for you. But for me, I'm making bra cup 39, so 5 inches works well for me. Right, so what I'm going to do is to open it up, and I'll determine the midpoint. Okay, so for you, your paper has already made a crease line for you to indicate your midpoint, so just go ahead and mark it out so that it's more visible. Then at the upper part, you're going to come in by 1 inch, and the same thing at the lower part, you come in by 1 inch, just like we draft a bustier. Right, so you're going to connect to the midpoint like so, then take it back to the upper part, just to give the shape of a bustier, right? So that when you cover your cup with your fabric, it's not going to be having pointy edges, right? So you make sure that you smooth in the curve and blend it so well so that it's not pointy. You know what we do for our bustiers, we make sure that your curve is not pointy for your bustiers. So we just cut out. Then afterwards, you go and transfer it to the fabric you want to use. So this is what it looks like so. So I'm going to cut out 4 pieces for the fabric and 4 pieces for the lining, because you need 2 like this for each bra cup. So I'm done cutting on the fabric. Remember, I said you need 4 pieces for the bra cup. I also need 4 pieces for your lining. Okay, because you're going to also cover with lining. So I have 2 pieces here, 2 pieces here, 2 pieces here, 2 pieces here. On the whole, I have 8 pieces. Okay, 4 pieces for the lining, 4 pieces for the main fabric. I want to use the same fabric to cover as lining, just so that it looks really nice. Okay, so you can also decide to use your lining, that's what you want. So what I'll do is just to go and sew around the curve. I'll just go and sew with 1/2 inch, like so, 1/2 inch all around, like so. Okay, on the 4 pieces, right? So after sewing, you're going to open it up, notch it, and go and give it a good press. Okay, so you can see I'm done notching, so I'll go and notch this one out. Okay, so you just go notch it all around. Then when you're done with notching, you go and give it a very good press so that everything lays really flat and smooth before you incorporate your bra cup. Right, so you're going to need pins for this project. You can either use your pins, your uhu gum, or your hemming gum, but I recommend you use pins because it helps you have some stability on the fabric. All right, so you're going to place your fabric on the cup either vertically or horizontally, depending on how you want the dart line on the cup or on your corset to be. So either horizontal or vertical is perfect. All right, so I'll be going with placing it horizontally. So I'll place the fabric on the bra cup and pin the fabric down to the bra cup. So what you're going to be doing is to be stretching it out so that it doesn't have any folds or excesses or wrinkles. So be stretching out the fabric and pin it down to the bra cup. Like I seriously recommend using your pins instead of using gum, because when you make a mistake, you would pull off the gum, it gets tacky and messy. So but once you have an issue, you can just remove your pins and repin it if need be. Right, so I'll just go and pin it all round, making sure that I pull out the fabric. You can see what the inside looks like. So I have it really smooth. So the bra cup has seam allowance of about ½ inch inside, so I'm just going to sew with like 1/4 inch all round. Okay, I'm not going to use up the ½ inch, because that'll be the allowance to attach this cup to your corset. So I'll just use like 1/4 inch all round, and it is just to hold the fabric to the bra cup, right? So I'll just go do that on my machine. I'm done. So I've stitched it all the way round. I don't know if you can see my stitches, but you can see that I've taken out the pins on this bra cup, right? So I've sewed the upper part and the lower part with just 1/4 inch. All right, I'm not using the ½ inch. I'm not using up the ½ inch that it's on the bra cup, because that will be my seam allowance to attach this bra cup to the corset bodies. All right, so for this part I also loosen out the pins so that you can see what I have done here. Practically the same thing, just stitch the fabric to the bra cup using about 1/4 inch seam allowance, like so. Right, so what I'll do will be to go and trim off the excess. Okay, trim off the excess fabric. I actually prefer having this excess that you trim out, so it's going to give you control around the bra cup than when your fabric is not enough. Right, so I'll just go and trim it off all around, like so. Right, so I have just the bra cup and the fabric. Okay, so the bra cup has been covered, but another thing you need is to use your lining to cover the bra cup so that the top looks really nice and smooth. So you get your other fabric, then place it. Make sure that the horizontal line that runs along the bra cup matches, okay, on the both sides. So you're going to make sure that you place it accordingly. Okay, so match up the sides and pin it down. Okay, so you just need your pins. You don't need to start wasting gum and your hemming gum, right? So just make sure that the lines match, okay, and you pin it down. So I'm just going to do what I did before. I'll go and pin down the bra cup, the already covered bra cup, to the lining, okay, just so that we can use the lining to give it a very clean finishing. All right, so just go and pin it all the way round. Hey, you're watching till now, I have not subscribed, that be, please subscribe to this channel, turn on your post notifications so that each time I upload a new video you'll be the first to be notified. Please like this video, share with your friends and family and other lovers of tailoring and sewing. I'm your girl Nani and I love you so much. Right, so back to the video. I'll make sure I pin it all around so you can see I'm done pinning. So I'm going to sew the upper part right now, just the upper part. It has an allowance of ½ inch, so I'm just going to stitch only the upper part right now, only the upper part. When you're done stitching, you're going to notch it all around. Okay, when you're done stitching, you're going to cut off the excess fabric, then notch it all around, and then you go and top stitch. Right, so I'm done sewing. I've trimmed off the excess fabric, you can see. I've also notched it, so you go and pull it over and top stitch on it so that it lays really flat. All right, so this is where you need your hemming gum to sew. So you can place your hemming gum underneath where you're sewing, so that when you're done sewing you go and iron it, and the hemming gum is going to help it lay really flat. Okay, so I'm sorry you're not seeing what I'm top stitching. The back up has it's covering it all up, but I'm still trying to bend it so that you can see what I'm doing. I'm basically just top stitching on the bra cup. Okay, so you just make sure you top stitch it all around, pull out your fabric, your lining, so that it's not going into the fabric, and you make sure that all your seam allowances are towards the fabric. Okay, you're going to move your seam allowance towards the fabric, towards the lining. Sorry for that mistake, towards the lining. Okay, you push your seam allowances towards the lining and you top stitch on the lining. You can use 1/4 inch to top stitch, right? So when I'm done top stitching, I'll then pull everything inside, right? So if you're working without light and you can't use your hemming gum to iron so that it lays really flat, you can top stitch on the main bra cup. Okay, so I'll just go and take this to my ironing table using a hemming gum to iron it really flat, and it will lay flat. But if you don't have that and you just want to go over with this, what you will do is to use a matching thread to top stitch the follow the main top stitching line, okay, and stitch the bra cup to the lining. Okay, so that's what I'm going to do now. For the sake of this tutorial, you're just going to hold it down and top stitch it again on the main bra cup itself, but you're going to be using a matching thread. If you're going to be doing this, you use a matching thread. Alternatively, put on your generator, or if there is light, you can just use your hemming gum and iron it very well so that it will lay really flat. Right, so I'm done top stitching. So you're going to fold it back. You can see the top stitching and how it looks like. So this is left for you. You can top stitch, or you can use your hemming gum to go and iron it so it lays really flat, right? So this is what I have after top stitching. You can see how beautiful this cup looks, right? So you can see I've done this, so it looks really nice. You can see the inside. That's why I like to use my fabric to cover it instead of using lining. So you're going to make a fist into the bra cup, okay, so that it's not going to be flat on your body. There are times where you use a bra cup to make a corset and it will be very flat. It won't accommodate the bust. So you make a fist into the bra cup, then you go and stitch the lower part down. Just stitch the lower part, all right, after making a fist, okay, so that you don't have the lining sticking out, okay, and it won't accommodate the bust. So you can see what the inside looks like. So after stitching the lower part, I'll just go and trim off the excess. You can see my stitch line on it. So you trim off the excess and you have your bra cup. Look at that beauty. Look at how beautiful it looks. Okay, so this is it. So at the upper part, if you don't want your top stitching to show, you can use your fringes, you can use your pearls, your fabrics, your accessories to design the upper part, and nobody would even see the top stitching that you made at the upper part. So till I come your way next time, I'm still your girl Nani, and I love you. Stay safe. Bye. Mwah.